Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Gemma, and joining me this week, I have the kooky Kirk.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes, happy Halloween. I don't know if kooky is a Halloween word. I was trying to think of a Halloween term to use. Weird name.
Well, sure. It's we'll say it's a cross between I don't know what would the K word be in spooky.
Spooky and Kirk.
Yeah,
Spooky. I should have said spooky
Kirk
Kirk.
and spooky.
Yes, it is Halloween week. October 31st, of course, is this week, and that means it's the season for all things spooky. So this is our Halloween special. We're going to dedicate the entire episode to some spooky games, some interesting sales that Nintendo's put up, which include some, spooky titles that you might want to that might help you get into the season, as well as some games that we're playing, of course, and a few new like extra packs for certain games and other Halloween related goodness when it comes to gaming. But let's kick things off with
See, it's Halloween. It's getting to you. The
it's getting
spirits
to
have
me.
taken your voice away.
Yes, they have. Well, I thought they'd want me to promote them, but okay. um, yes. So Vampire Survivors, which has been around for a couple of years now, and I'm a huge fan of this game. Have you had a chance to play it at all, Kirk?
I have not. No.
Okay. And now there are lots of little spin-offs too, right? You've seen this where there's games that actually kind of emulate the Vampire Survivors formula.
Yeah, I've seen like a lot of knockoffs. Was Vampire Survivors first? Was it, or was just
I
like the first big one? But
Maybe just the first big one. I mean, there's things like Brotato. I don't know where that comes in the timeline as well, but that seems to have been around a little while. But essentially, if you're not familiar, it is a survival kind of game. So it's a top-down perspective. You're a character. You have automatic fire, so your weapons just fire automatically. You just have to avoid all the enemies, and there are hordes of enemies. It gets obviously harder as you progress and you level up, which is really fun. You get new weapons. It's four-player co-op, so you play with four people at once. You can play with up to four people at once. Vampire Survivors has a lot of characters to unlock, a lot of levels to unlock. It also has a lot of DLC to get into. It's not an expensive game. The DLC is quite cheap as well. But the news just came out that there is a new DLC pack coming on October 31st of all days, and it's called Ode to Castlevania, which is perfect. And if you play the game, you'll know what I mean or even if you've seen the game screenshots or videos, it looks very Castlevania. Like even though it's not a side-scrolling platformer with whips and Dracula, I mean, it is a vampire. There are vampires, and it has a very Castlevania look to it. Just that kind of 16-bit style, the kind of grainy colors, and the whole vampire theme and monsters in general. There's zombies, there's walking plant things, there's ghosts, there's goblins, there's any kind of scary monster you can think of. They've thrown into this game. This
it's a
Ode to
monster mash.
It's a monster mash, yes. I love that. And this DLC, it has a lot packed in. It's got 20 new characters, 40 new weapons. In fact, more than 40 new weapons, including, of course, because it's Castlevania. And this is quoted from from the website. More whips than you can count on one hand. I do believe it's 8, to be fair.
Well, yeah,
Which is
that's accurate then. Good job.
exactly. It's got music tracks, more than 30 music tracks from Vampire Survivors historic composers, Danielle Zandara and Filippo Vicarelli, if I've not butchered their name, sorry, but also from fan favorites Evelyn Lark and Cajun Church. So it's actually the biggest. Oh, and sorry, it also includes, as I said, no, I didn't say this, characters, weapons, but it also includes a new stage, and it happens to be the biggest stage that the team has ever made. So I'm really excited to try this one when it comes out on October 31st. And I know I mentioned Vampire Survivors from time to time and how how much I really like it. And the goal is to survive for a certain amount of time. And then it's kind of endless, but at this point in time, this enemy comes that just one shots you. But you unlock a lot along the way. It's just so rewarding in that sense because the more that you play, the more that you unlock, the more characters you have to try. They'll have different kind of abilities. They'll have different weapons. It's very gratifying, and it's a very just one more kind of situation. But it's not a very you do need some time to play it because you can't just sort of play it for 2 minutes because unless you die quickly, of course. The game lasts, I think it's half an hour is the time period you're supposed to try to survive. And it's not really half an hour because every time you level up, it pauses while you level up. Or every time you get a bonus chest with coins in it, it pauses for those kind of 5 seconds, whatever. So it kind of adds up, and you do need a bit of a chunk of time to kind of dedicate to that if you wanted to go for the full half an hour. But I thought that was a really good way to open up our Halloween special because it is a Monster Mash. It's really fun. It's not an expensive game. It's also actually on special. Oh, yeah. So it's on special until November the 7th. But if you're in the US, you can actually play it for free this week until October 31st. So, Kirk, you should try it.
Well, maybe I should.
Maybe.
Maybe yeah. This will be what finally pushes me over. I'm looking at the screen captures here, and I like that it has so many characters available from the various Castlevania games.
Yes.
I'm trying to
Heaps.
figure out how many of these names I remember, how many games
Yeah.
I played. And I think it's
Yeah.
about half.
It's pretty good. That's more than I know. I haven't played all up. I have played Castlevania and quite a few of them, not half of them. So because I know there are a lot of games. I definitely loved Super Castlevania on the Super Nintendo. That's probably my favorite, just because I played that the most, and it's kind of got the most nostalgic value for me. But Simon Belmont, of course, and the Belmont family is, steeped throughout these games. It's kind of that. It's like that generational thing, isn't it? Like the Belmont family passes down the kind of. I was going to say torch, but what do they pass down instead, metaphorically? The stake, maybe,
Sure.
to kill the vampires. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, so get onto that. It's free. I believe it's already free now. So if you listen to this podcast, it's currently free. You've got a couple of days. October 31st, sorry, October the 30th is a Wednesday, being the day before Halloween. You can try it for free, and then it is on special until November the 7th. So if you do like it, of course, you can buy it. But it is relatively cheap anyway. I can't remember the exact price, but I think it's like, what is it, $10 or something? I don't know. But speaking of game trials, Vampire Survivors is not the only one to be on special this week. Nintendo does this free game trial business every now and then. I've caught a couple. Now, this is, as far as I know, only in the US because they seem to do different deals in Australia and the US. 3 games. Vampire Survivors is obviously one of them. The other two, the first one is not very spooky. It's A Little to the Left, which is a puzzle game. And I believe we have reviewed this one, haven't we, Kirk? I think I saw it come
Yes,
through our site a
I
few months ago.
think Sophie reviewed that.
Yes. Yes, she did. Nice. So that is up on our website if you wanted to check it out, but it is free to try this week. The other one, which is kind of fitting more into our Halloween theme this week, is the Cursed Golf title, which is, I guess, a take on golfing in the underworld with demons and all sorts. Have you played or heard of this one before?
I have not. Is it a golf game or more like a miniature golf style game?
I think it's miniature golf. I do remember this one when it first came out. It's from 2022. Well, that's the original Steam version. It might have been ported a little bit later for the Switch, but it's a roguelike and it's definitely got a cartoony style to it. So it's not one of those horror games that looks super scary, but it definitely features ghouls and ghosts and all that sort of thing. I feel like we reviewed this as well, to be honest. And it's out now on the Nintendo Switch. I'm just looking it up, sorry, as I'm speaking. It's $7.50. This might be Australian though. It's 75% off in Australia. So if you're in Australia, you can definitely try that.
It's
Oh,
75 off here in the US
it
too.
is. And guess
Yeah.
what? It's on Game Trial for free in Australia also. I'm gonna have to do that myself, which is really cool. Except in Australia, it's called Cursed to Golf.
Yes, that's what we have here too. I was confused for a minute. I want to make sure I
Okay.
was looking at the same game.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed out the word two in our notes.
Yeah.
It's Cursed to Golf. My bad.
Well, that kind of changes the whole field, doesn't it? Because I thought I
Yeah.
was playing a game of cursed golf, but ends up I'm just doomed to golf for the rest of eternity in
Yeah.
purgatory.
Would that be your version of um, eternal hell
I
or
could
purgatory?
think of worse things, I guess. So, I mean, I'm not a
Yeah.
golfer, but I guess I wouldn't mind doing it. I'm not against golf.
Yes. Yeah. So it
I'd
is
prefer
set in.
mini golf. If I could play
Yeah.
mini golf
Yeah.
in purgatory for all eternity, I would take that instead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a long time. Eternity is a very long time, but yes,
Um,
it's certainly better than certain alternatives. So yeah, this one is set in golf, what is called golf purgatory. But it is the aim of the game is to get back to the land of the living. So there is hope at the end of that. Uh, I guess mini golf tunnel. You are trying to get back to Earth. So It seems like you've been obviously cursed, and yeah, work your way through. It definitely looks like mini golf, doesn't it? To me, anyway. It's out there and it looks really fun. Actually, I'm gonna give this one a try. I wish I'd known it was free in Australia. I would have tried it this week. Sorry about that. If you've played this one, let us know because the colors, the skin, the sort of the aesthetics of it look really nice. It's sort of got a very colorful backdrop. It looks pretty pixelated, I suppose, doesn't it, in the foreground? Like it
Yeah.
almost looks like a platformer in the style. It's not like a golf game that's top down. It's more like you're hitting, moving side to side and hitting a ball across the screen, which is a nice deviation from, I suppose, what is generally the accepted kind of model for golfing sims. So a different take on the whole series, and it's set in this kind of world that looks, it's purgatory, right? So it's dark. It's got this big moon in the background, but obviously there are different themes. There's some sort of deserty looking theme. It looks quite fun anyway. So
Yeah.
check that out.
Looking at the different screen captures here, it appears to have, well, in the description, what kind of struck me is that they're actually accurate enough to refer to it as precise golf-like in quotes gameplay. So they're
Right.
explaining up front that you're not getting a full golf sim here. It's more of an arcade style approach to it, which kind of makes it a cross between golf and mini golf, I think. But um,
Yes.
yeah, it certainly looks interesting and has 70 plus holes, so it'll
That's
keep you playing
yeah,
for a while.
decent. Yeah. And we did review it back in 2022. So it did come out on the Switch in 2022, and we gave it a healthy 7 out of 10. It was reviewed by Ted. So looks like it is a fun time to have. So if you're looking for something different, sort of sporty and spooky, that might be a fun one to try this week. And of course, Vampire Survivors we've already mentioned, but as I said, there are lots of other DLCs available for Vampire Survivors. They're all really cheap, like around $2, and I think some of them are on special this week as well, so you can get them for under $2. And then you have things like new stages and characters and weapons. So if you do enjoy the game, but if you're through with it, like you've played all the levels to death, and that's kind of a pun because it's Halloween to death, you can pick up these extra levels and characters for a pretty cheap price. Speaking of cheap prices, Nintendo has what's called the Screaming Deals eShop sale. Give you a chance to look at this, Kirk?
I haven't. I'm going to do so as you talk about the first couple of games.
Sure. Yeah. So it wouldn't be Halloween without without a Halloween sale, of course. Nintendo has sales every single week, so it pays to check this page, and we do highlight some of them, especially when they're decent sales on the show. We also post a link to the sales on our website each week as well, so check for that as well. But, when it's themed like this, they do it, for kind of New Year and, even sometimes seasonal, like winter, autumn, that sort of thing, or fall, and summer, etc. But this happens to be a Halloween sale, so it is more or less focused on spooky games. And so I've pulled out a few that I think are pretty good value actually, and pretty decent games on top of that. So the first one is one of my favorites, which is Cult of the Lamb. And I know I've mentioned this game before on the show. It is currently 50% off, which is, amazing. It's a really good deal. This is such a fun game. I reviewed it now. It was last year, about a year ago, and I gave it a really good score. You run a cult. This is a perfect Halloween game, actually. But it's not just a sim. Like it is a sim, but it's also like a roguelite. It's got roguelite elements to it. So you're a lamb, the most adorable lamb in the world, and you have cult members who are also equally adorable. Very think um, Animal Crossing, I guess, in terms of cuteness, but a very dark theme, which is that you have to battle these kind of old world gods. And there's one god that's been captured and imprisoned, and you're kind of working for this god. So your cult worships this one particular god, and he's trying to get rid of the others. The roguelite elements come into play in between setting up your cult and getting new members. You go through these kinds of randomized kind of caves or dungeons to battle these old school gods, unlock more treasures and weapons, and collect things for your cult as well, like seeds, for example, so you can grow food to feed your cult members. And it's very much a sim element to the cult building. So you do need to feed them. You do need to create beds for them. You even need to build, an outhouse. Like they need somewhere to use the bathroom, right? So they need a church to worship, and they need, you end up doing it's actually a very robust system. You unlock kind of rituals along the way, and you unlock new things to build. Um, Sometimes there will be what they call a dissenter, someone who's trying to turn people against you and your cult. So you need to kind of reprogram them. It's all very, yeah, yeah, it's like that. It's really fun. It is really fun. It's a very, very good game, and it's 50% off. So if you haven't already checked it out, consider that one. The Castlevania collection. So we mentioned Castlevania as part of the Vampire Survivors DLC, but the Castlevania collection itself is also on special this week, and it is a massive 80% off, which is huge. That is a huge saving. Now let me just look at the price for that one. It is there's the Castlevania Advance Collection, which is that one's 40% off. Where is the other one? This is kind of Castlevania Anniversary Collection, which is down to $3.99.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, boy, even if you don't think you're going to play it, you don't pass up a $4 collection of
yeah.
one of the most well-known games in gaming history.
Hmm. Yes, exactly. Do you recall which titles are in this collection by any
Let's
chance?
see, I just pulled it up and it looks, oh, wow. It's got Castlevania, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, Super Castlevania 4, Castlevania the Adventure, Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge, Castlevania Bloodlines, Kid Dracula, which was never released in English before, and then
That
a book, History of
Wow,
Castlevania.
that is huge. So we're talking
Yes, that's
two,
huge
four,
for
six.
$4.
Yeah. What is it? Two, four, six, 8 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically 50 cents a game. 50 cents. And one of them is Super Castlevania 4, which is my favorite. So yes. That is super tempting, $4. And that one ends on November the 1st. So you still have quite a bit of time. That will be Friday that one ends. So you've got all week to get that one. I think
Do
all
you think this one passes our collection test with all those games?
absolutely.
Is this okay? This is
Yeah.
definitely a collection, we'll say.
Yes. Do you agree with that? With that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is a decent collection. So sometimes we see games that have like 2 games in it, and we're like, that is not a collection. This one I think definitely qualifies. Yeah. So that is absolutely worth it. Honestly, $4. Now the next one I picked because I'm sure this is one you talked about just recently, which is Fatal
Yes,
Frame.
it is. Yeah,
Yes, Maiden of the Black Water, which is 30% off, and I think that's a pretty good deal, right?
definitely.
Yes.
And you should use your savings to pick up some of the DLC that came with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Although that's mostly like costume kind of things, but people are into that, right? They like dressing people up in different things, and some of the costumes here are
Yeah.
actually pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times when people add that kind of content, it just looks kind of goofy to me. But
Mm-hmm.
some of the costumes they have here are very gothic and fit the visuals of the game in a way that almost makes it work better than the default outfits.
Yes, exactly. And I know it's one of your favorites, so I did see it there, and I thought that was definitely worth mentioning. It's 27.99, normally 39.99. So, um, yeah, and uh, the deluxe edition is also there as well, isn't it? So you could pick. Does that? I assume that includes all of the DLC packed in, right?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So yes, 2 options there for you to pick up. And I guess the other one that caught my eye was Resident Evil because they're 50 to 60% off, which is huge as well. And I know these aren't necessarily new games. I think there's a lot of Resident Evils in the mix, and some of them, in fact, are even more than that. I just realized Resident Evil 2 Cloud, which I'm not even sure what that is. Sorry, is 75% off. Resident Evil 4 is 50% off. Resident Evil Revelations 2 is 60% off. There are so many. Resident Evil 0, the original Resident Evil. I mean, we're talking about sort of $10 and under for a game. Now, again, I know these aren't new games, but it even goes up to Resident Evil. Let's see, we've got 7 in there, 3, 6, 5. Yeah, they're kind of all in there. I guess if they're on the Switch, they're discounted currently. So,
the only one I see here in the US eShop is Resident Evil 4. I don't see the others listed.
but I'm on the US eShop.
Oh, are you?
Um,
All right. Well,
yeah,
maybe I
but
got
I
a
just
different
went to
setting or
the
something.
I just went to the link to the actual sales page, which sort of lists everything, and there is even a Capcom section actually, which groups them nicely.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, but they're all there. Resident Evil 7 is called Biohazard Cloud. That one's 60%
Yeah,
off. Hmm.
I just pulled up a couple of their individual pages, and they are on sale. So even though I'm not seeing them listed for some reason, they're in there.
Oh, that's strange. Yes. What's your experience with Resident Evil? Have you played any of these games?
I was just thinking about that as I was looking at this, and it occurs to me that I think the only Resident Evil game I ever played and thoroughly enjoyed from start to finish was Resident Evil 4.
Right. Why was that?
I uh, that it may be because that was the first I played, and it just clicked with me, and I played it on the Wii. So it
Ooh.
was
Mhm.
so much fun with the Wii remote, the way you could just point at the screen
Oh,
to get that kind of accuracy for
yeah.
everything you were doing.
True. True.
And then I played a lot of the remasters or remakes, and none of them just compared to four, either the gameplay or the story. So I kind of lost interest.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Good point. Yeah. I don't have a huge Resident Evil history. I've played a couple over the years. There was one, I don't remember which one it was, on the 3DS, was it? I think that I might have
Yeah,
played.
there was a mercenaries game, and then the one like they were on a ship. I can't remember what that was called.
Mm.
Um, but
Yeah,
most of it took place on. I kind of like that one. I guess I forgot about that. I sort of like that one on the ship, but still not as much as four.
yeah, fair enough. Yes. Well, we might need to do a poll to see which one is fan favorites, although there's probably too many to list now.
Yeah.
But yes, if you're listening and you are a Resident Evil fan, let us know which is your favorite. We would love to know the answer to that question. And if you have missed any along the way or were curious about picking them up, I mean, now is a good time to do so for kind of 50, 60, and even 75% off some of those titles. Very, very good. Those were the kind of the highlights that I'd pulled out. What did you see in there that caught your eye, Kurt?
Well, here on the featured page, the games that I look at that I like the most, although I wouldn't necessarily call them scary or Halloween themed, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is on
Hmm.
here, and I
Hmm.
love that. Uh, Ghost Trick Phantom Detective was an old favorite game from the DS.
Mm.
I did not grab the Switch version when it was released in 2023. Um, but I remember liking that game. That's now $15, which makes that a more attractive option to me. I thought $30 for a um, remastered DS game was a little high.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty.
Um,
I'm sure I remember you talking about that one too, actually.
yeah, I think when they first announced it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for my friends at Feral Interactive, I would like to point out that Alien Isolation um, is a really good game too.
Ooh. Oh, okay. Yep. I saw
Yeah, it's
that
an
in there.
older one. It was released. It looks like it was released for the Switch in 2019, but for like a single player, first person perspective sort of shooter,
Hmm.
it's good. It's got a lot of jump scare moments.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Does it fit into the movies at all, the Alien series?
Yeah. I mean, that series has gotten kind of muddy lately because
Yeah.
of the whole mythology that they're creating around it now with Prometheus and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely retains the overall feel of the Alien proper movies.
Very good. Yes. I have not seen the most recent Alien movie.
Yeah, like Resident Evil, that's another thing I gave up on.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
What was that one Joss Whedon wrote? I can't remember. Was it four? I think it was four.
Oh, the
I
movie,
don't
the
know.
Resident Evil movie. Oh dear.
Yeah. That's when I jumped ship, jumped spaceship.
What did you fill that hole with?
I just let everything get sucked out.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm not sure which one he did. I can't seem to find that information easily while we're talking, but yeah, I don't even remember which one I got up to. I didn't even know there were four of them, actually. I can't
Yeah,
remember
it
what they
was the
got up
one
to.
with Winona Ryder was in it, and there were like cyborgs and stuff. I don't know.
Oh, Alien. We're talking about Alien, not Resident Evil.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, back to
Oh,
I
right, right,
was
right.
on where I jumped ship with Alien.
Yes, I think there was four. I do remember watching that one. I think I've seen Prometheus or one of those prequel-ish ones, but whatever the latest one I have not seen. Or Romulus? Is that the latest one? I don't know. Anyway,
Maybe.
yeah, maybe. But yes, so not all games are spooky. I mean, I can see Ace Attorney in there as well, but there are definitely like Ghostbusters. This is obviously a bit more of a lighthearted, spooky game, such and same with Plants vs Zombies. But Little Nightmares 1 and 2, obviously like Alien, like you said. There's quite a decent list of titles, but then you've also got Lego Star Wars. But I think that's on special every week, to be honest. Do not pay full price for Lego Star Wars. Seriously, it's currently 80% off though, so now is a good week to get it. I don't think it gets too
Yeah.
much better than that. Yeah, it's like 13.99. I paid like $100 for that because I bought it when it launched, so kind of annoyed, but that's okay. I guess I wanted it straight away, didn't I?
Well, yeah, you never need to feel bad about paying full price for something up front if you're, really into it and don't want to wait. That's fair.
True. Yeah, true. And I
Helps
got
the
the like,
developers too.
yeah, that's it. I got the
Yeah.
deluxe, physical edition, which came with all the DLC and stuff. So yes, but there's heaps of games to check out. Let us know which capture your eye, listeners, because we'd love to know. Let's move on to a few more Halloween activities before we get to some Halloween games that we want to recommend. But first of all, I wanted to touch on Mario Kart Tour because they tend to have this Halloween event each year, and it's really fun. It obviously pulls in those kind of spooky tracks, like, and then this is again fun spooky. It's Mario Kart, right? But all the characters dress up. Mario's wearing his vampire cape. Peach has like a witch's hat on, and it's tracks like the ghost tracks, the ghost house tracks, sorry, and like Luigi's Mansion has a few tracks in there, and they're really fun. There's pumpkins scattered around the tracks as well. So normally, because one of the best things about Mario Kart Tour is it takes the traditional Mario Kart tracks and it kind of puts a spin on them in terms of it might make you like backwards is not necessarily a new thing because we have the mirror cups on the Mario Kart proper, but it might do them with uh, jumps throughout the whole track um, or speed boosts or heaps of coins or like I said, pumpkins. So Halloween time, most tracks have these pumpkins scattered around. If you hit them, you get a coin, I think. And there's also these little achievements you can get where you get extra coins and rubies. And it's something like hit 200 pumpkins and you'll get, 5 or 10 or something rubies. And rubies can be used to purchase more different characters as well. So it just adds a little bit of fun because it's, you're driving around and there's these pumpkins on the track and you kind of steer towards them and knock them over. It's kind of fun. I like doing that. But yeah, it's just a neat little game. It's very easy to pick up and play. I'm always on there, so you can find me on there if you need to have a friend. And yeah, I love the characters and the way they're dressed up as well. I just think that's part and parcel of what Halloween is, right? You're going trick or treating with your son, I assume, Kurt.
Yes. Yeah. We
Yes.
just a couple days. Well, actually, from it'll be the day before this podcast comes out.
What? So they do it
So
they don't do it on Halloween in your area, like, on the actual day? They do it
a
on the
lot
weekend?
of towns do.
Mhm.
Our town, they just do it on a weekend, usually a Saturday or Sunday, the
Mhm.
weekend right before. I mean, if it happens to fall on Halloween, great. Otherwise, we do it the weekend before.
Yeah, fair enough. That's cool. We haven't done that here in Australia just yet. We're still kind of playing catch up when it comes to Halloween. I remember as a kid, I used to love the idea of Halloween because, there's movies, like E.T., where Halloween is a big part of that movie. And then there's, The Simpsons has lots of Halloween specials. Because we have a lot of American television and movies here that that we watch, we know what Halloween is. We see it, of course, I'm talking 80s and 90s, but still even today. The point is, back then in the 80s and 90s, people weren't really doing Halloween where I lived. I don't know if that was true across the entire of Australia, but definitely where I was from, there weren't trick or treaters or very few of them. Now it is a lot bigger in terms of I can see decorations. I've seen decorations outside of people's houses for weeks now, which is probably the case also in the US, I assume. People
Yeah.
put out
Oh, do they have
decorations.
the giant skeletons in Australia that are so popular over here right now?
How giant are they?
Uh, some of these skeletons get up to 2 stories. I could put one of these in my backyard and it would look straight in my son's bedroom
Oh,
window.
wow. I have not seen those. No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I need a picture of that. We have, like, those tall, kind of thin skeletons, but I wouldn't say they're 2 stories. They might be, like, as tall as a person, and the people hang them from I guess, the roof or whatever outside the front of the house as a decoration, maybe? And there's, like, spiders everywhere and little witches' heads and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
inflatable pumpkins and
Yes.
ghosts, and
Yes.
yep.
hmm It looks really cool. I wouldn't say it's huge. Maybe 10% of houses might have decorations in my area, at least. I'm not speaking for the whole of Australia, obviously. It's a very big country, but in my area, probably 10%, maybe 15. I don't know. But
Okay.
it's cool though. And then we will go trick or treating on the day itself. It's a Thursday, so Thursday evening. It gets really hot here. It's
Yeah, they
spring.
I say with the season changes, I don't know that that's because here it's very much tied in with harvests in fall and the
Mm-hmm.
gathering of your crops.
Yeah.
Um, but so the weather, I mean, it can vary depending on where you are. But where I am, it's gonna be like 50 degrees and clear, and the fall colors are out, and it's just
Mm.
got the atmosphere is right for it.
Yes, definitely. I love the fall colors. I've been to the US in October. It's beautiful.
Mhm.
Yes, here it is quite warm by then, and it's humid in my town anyway. In Melbourne, it's probably quite lovely. In Melbourne down
And you've
south,
got
it's
everybody out in like rubber costumes with these masks on, just
yes,
sweating and sweating and sweating to get their
yeah,
candy.
yes. But it's all in good fun, and I love doing it because I didn't get to it as a kid. I just love dressing up with my son, and going out trick or treating with him. So I'm very much looking forward to that on Thursday. We're going to take our dog with us as well. She's going to dress up this year as well, so that's going to be really cute.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, looking forward to that.
Who are you going as?
Well, I'm probably
Or
like
what? I should say, what are you going as?
no one specific. I do have a Ray costume, like Ray Skywalker costume, which I've used in the past. I do also have like a devil, like a devil girl costume, with a red skirt kind of thing. Which might be what I go to this year. I think I also have a Wonder Woman outfit, so one of those three probably. But
Okay.
I've been Ray quite a few times, and since Star Wars is not kind of super popular right now, maybe not, maybe not Ray. I don't know. We'll see. The devil one's easy just because it's got cute little horns, like a little headband you put in your head with little horns, and that's not probably I'll probably choose the coolest one, as in weather-wise, because it's so hot. So whichever one isn't hot, I might wear. I'll let you know next week what I ended up doing, but yeah.
Yeah, do.
So back to Halloween events and games. What is Pinball M Camp Bloodbrook?
Well, this is funny to me, and I kind of wish Trevor was on for this because we've talked about Pinball FX
hmm
and the new release that they did that was not compatible with your back catalog. So to upgrade to the latest versions of Pinball, which I think it was up to Pinball FX2, FX3, and they released a new version. It's back to just Pinball FX.
hmm
And then we got a review code, and I think I will be taking this for a new table called Camp Bloodbrook. But the funny thing about it was it's available for a game called Pinball M. And I had never heard of that. So I went on
Hmm.
to the eShop to see what it is. And literally, Pinball M is yet another um, base game, I guess. You download that for free, and then you get the various tables that you want to play. Pinball M is mature content.
Ah, right. Okay.
I'm assuming they had to split that because they didn't want to make some of the DLC where they've got mature content available through the normal app. So you have to get the mature content approved app to get the tables. It's just
Right.
kind of a mess.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, like this table Camp Bloodbrook is also available in a we'll say teen rated version, I suppose,
hmm
that you can get through normal Pinball FX. From what I can tell, like there's one of the ramps is like a big machete or knife in it, and in the normal version, it's just a knife, and in Pinball M, it's covered in blood.
Right. Okay.
So I guess that's to do it. Although I was looking at some of the games that are available as downloads in Pinball M, and a lot of them also have strong language.
hmm
Um, a lot of these are on sale. They've got tables based on The Thing,
Mm.
the John Carpenter movie from, God, what was that, 78, 79, 80, around then.
hmm
They've got Chucky's Killer Pinball. They've
Right.
got Texas Chainsaw Massacre Pinball. So if you're into pinball and you're into slasher horror movies, go get Pinball M. And while you're at it, you can get this brand new table called Camp Bloodbrook. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if that's attached to a franchise. I've never heard of Bloodbrook, so it might be an original table.
Yeah, I've not heard of that either. but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So you can download Pinball M for free, just like Pinball FX, and then the tables cost money. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
sometimes you can get them individually. All these, the Pinball M games are all individual, but for regular Pinball FX, you can get packages where you'll
Mhm.
get 3 or 4 tables for one price.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. You'd think they would have done a slasher package then with those games you
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah, I'm
Tables.
surprised that they didn't roll
Yeah.
that in. Not all of them are slashers. They've got System Shock and Duke Nukem,
Oh, Duke
which I assume
Nukem.
is rated M because he's Duke Nukem, and you you can't not be.
Yeah, that's not a name I've heard recently. Duke
Yeah.
Nukem.
Well,
Yeah,
the
okay.
pinball game has to be better than the last few Duke Nukem standard titles.
I wonder if anyone goes dressed as Duke Nukem to Halloween. Is that a thing?
Would anyone recognize him anymore?
Probably not. No, I guess not.
Yeah.
What are you dressing up for Halloween? You mentioned your son was going to be Alpha Wolf or something last week. But what about
Yeah,
you?
my son is now at the age where he can go trick or treating without me,
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah.
I'll be inside watching the Seahawks on TV during trick or treat.
Nice.
I'll
Yeah.
go as a Seahawk fan with my jersey on. How's that?
Yeah. That'll do. Yes, that's good. Excellent. Okay, so Pinball M is that a new is it pretty new then? The actual concept of
It
this
looks
M
like
rated?
Pinball M has been around for at least since most of the games look like they came out in December of 23. So
Okay.
we're approaching a
Mhm.
year on that.
Yeah.
Camp Bloodbrook is brand new. It just came out yesterday as we record this, Thursday, the 24th. And there was System Shock came out in February of last year and Texas Chainsaw Massacre in June. So it looks like every few months they're releasing a new table for it.
Cool. That seems like a good period of time between outings. Yeah. Give you some time with one and then give you another one to enjoy. Yeah, nice. Okay. Well, yes, we'll look forward to hearing your thoughts on that when you're reviewing this one. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds
And the
good.
good thing is, regardless of what the theme is or the content, I couldn't care less. I just want a fun pinball machine to play. So, even
Yeah.
though I wouldn't have any attachment to say Chucky, I can still
Yeah.
greatly enjoy the pinball machine if it's a good
True.
got good gameplay.
That's a good point. The strong language thing is interesting. I wouldn't have thought of language even being in a pinball machine, but I guess when you hit certain buttons or buzzers or whatever, it might shout words out at you. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something the actual hardware pinball machines have been doing for quite some
Uh,
time now. So
mhm.
the video games where they bring in like even more, physically impossible things that couldn't
Yeah.
happen on a real machine they do in video games. They
Hmm.
also bring in a lot of special effects and visuals to enhance the digital experience.
Cool. Sounds good. Sounds fun. Hopefully it is. So let's move on to some of the spooky games that we're playing or recommending for the season. And I'll go first with a slightly older game that I reviewed back in May called Anglerfish. You might remember me talking about this one, Kirk. It's such
I
a weird
do.
game. Yeah.
I do. I remember very well.
It left an impression. Hence why as soon as the topic of Halloween came up, I'm like, Anglerfish. I can't believe it was only this year that I reviewed it. I'm just going to double check that, but I'm sure it was May this year because it
Yeah, I think it
seems,
was.
yeah, it was. It really seems like so long ago. This year has just flown, obviously, but the game took me by surprise. It's a very simple premise. You're, I guess, a bachelor at a bachelor's party. You're about to get married. You go to this venue called Anglerfish to celebrate. You know, the night before the wedding with your mates, your friends, and a bit like from dusk till dawn, things go awry in terms of at midnight the clock strikes and everyone in the bar turns into monsters and tries to eat you. So, and they do eat a lot of your friends, and it's about surviving the night essentially. Death comes often, frequently, but you can just go straight back in and try again. And it kind of changes a little bit every time. But you get to know the layout. You know where the person's going to charge at you at the start. You know what this person's going to do here. But then there are these there's a few, I don't know if they're called jump scares exactly, but there's definitely scariness in this game. Like I was genuinely scared because it's all very cartoony and retro. It's a side scroller, so it's all very 16-bit in its aesthetic, but it's just creepy. Like the bar itself is fine until monsters appear, but it still looks like a bar. But then you end up going underground, and there's crypts, and there's like just you kind of have to navigate these hallways that are very dark, and you don't know where the ghosts or whatever these zombie things are. There's vampires. There's all sorts of things going on in this bar. It's but it really took me by surprise. You're not really you don't always have a weapon, but sometimes you have a gun, so you can shoot. But it's not really about the violence or the it's about the survival. It's about getting to the end and seeing kind of uncovering what is happening in this bar, really. There's a few different endings. It just took me it's very memorable if you like something different, a little bit quirky, and yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. And it is also currently 60% off. And it's normally cheap anyway. It's only $10, but it's actually currently $3.99 or $4. So if it does sound appealing to you, and you can check out my review on purenintendo.com, I can definitely recommend it as something different for Halloween for sure. It's pretty violent in terms of there's blood and some scary elements. Not for kids. I'm not sure what the team rating it the rating for it is. It's probably T or mature, it's like teens or mature or something like that. Um, yeah, definitely left an impression. I don't think I'll ever forget this game. It's a bit like that movie, The Substance. I don't know if you've heard of that, Kirk. Have you heard of this one?
I don't think so. I'm
If you
Substance.
The Substance, it's a new movie, just come out recently. It's got Demi Moore
Okay,
in it.
yeah, no,
Yep.
no, then
No,
I've never
it,
seen it.
if you're listening and you're looking for a movie that will leave an impression on you, go and see The Substance. It's a good Halloween movie. Um, quite well made and quite well acted as well. Very different and quirky. A lot like Anglerfish, to be honest. Not in story or plot, but in the fact that it has left a huge impression on me. Um, yes, so that's my recommendation for this Halloween.
Does the
Um,
game ever explain what Lookalike Thursday is?
like
There's a screen
Thursday.
capture of the outside of the Anglerfish restaurant slash bar, whatever it is, and there's a neon sign
Mm.
that says "Lookalike Thursday."
No, I don't think it does. I think that's just the theme for the bar on a Thursday. Yeah,
Like, do you not get in if you don't look like someone? Do you have to bring a twin? I'm confused by
I don't
Lookalike
know.
Thursday. And
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I know there's a dog at the front of the bar. Every time you die and come back in, the dog says something to you.
oh
Could
yeah, I
be,
see him there. Yeah.
yeah. He says a little quip. It could be cute. It could be mean. He could growl at you. As he changes it up every time. Sometimes he encourages you. Yeah. So it's not going to be for everybody, but I honestly think it's something that it's just very different. I haven't ever played a game like this, so check it out if you're interested. Um, Now, excited to hear about your thoughts on the next game because this one is called Sunshine Camp, and you're currently reviewing this one. Is that correct?
Yes, actually, the review could be live before the podcast goes up. I've got my edit, so I just need to get it up.
Cool.
Um, this is a 16-bit throwback to 80s horror movies, to slasher movies specifically.
Hmm.
I think it was made with RPG Maker. Um,
Oh, wow.
so it has that look about it. If you played any game from RPG Maker, you know what that look is. But it very much sticks to the absurdity, I guess, of the 80s slasher movies. The premise is there's a kid named Jez. I guess he's what I don't know if they really ever specify his age. We'll say he's high school ages. His parents are getting divorced, of course. He's got himself a bit of an 80s attitude. He probably wears his hat backwards and has sunglasses on all day long. But he goes to this camp because I don't know, his parents are getting divorced. They decide to just they don't want to have to bother with their son for a week, maybe. But the mom drops him off. He meets his counselor. He meets his bunkmate and goes right to bed. Which, if I have any experience at all with camps, is not the way this works. But that's fine because it gets us right to the horror. Because no sooner as he goes to bed, falls asleep, and wakes up immediately um, to a blood-soaked cabin. His roommate is gone. He runs outside and is being chased by a giant teddy bear with a
Mhm.
knife, and that's basically your game. He gets a map of the camp and just has to work his way through the camp to try to find other survivors to unlock the story of what's going on. And every now and again, this killer teddy bear pops up, and it's a dude in like a bear costume. I should say
Uh-huh.
it's not like
Right.
not like a toy that's
Right.
doing it. Every now and again, there's that guy pops up and just chases you, and if he touches you once or twice, you're dead. So you've got to kind of hide. The thing I really liked about this game is they don't ever give Jez any weapons. He can't fight back. The whole point is he's a kid in a camp trying to figure out how to survive, how to see what's going on, and all he has available to him is pretty much the map and the flashlight. So he needs to hide when it comes. And although it's never really that scary, I don't know that a 16-bit game can really be terrifying along the lines of, say, the Fatal Frame games that we talked about earlier tonight.
Mm.
Um, it it provides a good amount of tension in that you go on a lot of fetch quests. You do meet other people. You need to like solve some puzzles, work your way through some buildings, but you never know when that dude in the bear costume is going to show up. So that is really where the scary part comes. It's like we talked about before in the haunted house, where you know something's about to happen, but you don't know exactly when. So you're just anticipating that. But add to that the fact that you're trying to solve puzzles too, and at any moment this thing could just pop up and you've got to run for your life. So um, it it works for what it is. It's also only $7, and you can finish it in about 5 hours. So it's like a perfect game to pick up and play over a couple nights around Halloween weekend.
Mm. Yeah. In one of the screenshots, the kid and the bear are very close. Is he about to be captured by the bear?
Yeah, yeah, if the bear's that close. Now the thing is, the bear dude, it's almost entirely line of sight, so it's actually pretty easy to get away from him. You just have to make sure he can't see you. But what they
Ah.
do well is a lot of times you don't know if where you've hidden is good enough, and the bear will like literally walk right past you. So at any moment he could, and when he's walking by, he says, scary things. It's very much like a Jason thing with the sound that he made. I won't do it because it'll sound goofy coming from me. I'm not
Mhm.
very threatening, but it does have those kind of elements in it. In fact, there are a lot of throwbacks to 80s horror movies. If you're a fan of those at all,
Mhm.
you're gonna have some fun playing through this.
Oh, that sounds really good. I love that. I was hoping it would be fun in that way because it's made from the same people who made a game that I reviewed last year on Halloween. I published this called Sunshine Manor. So who is the developer? Did you say?
I'm not sure the developer, the publisher for both games is Houndpicked Games.
Right, cool. So I'm
Maybe
not
they are
sure.
the developer too.
Maybe. It certainly looks the one that I reviewed last year. It's Sunshine Manor. It has a very similar looking aesthetic in terms of being a top-down kind of horror-related game from the 80s. This one is a ghost. It's a haunted house with ghosts, and you're a kid trick-or-treating. So it's literally set on Halloween night. You're with a group of kids, and you trick-or-treat at this spooky mansion that's kind of got this whole story behind it, like it's a bit of a legendary house. Something happened there in the 70s, and you go inside, it's abandoned, and of course, your friends disappear, leaving you to solve the mystery as to what's happened to these friends of yours. And along the way, you end up actually working with the ghosts of the house to kind of bring them back to or help them solve their own whatever's keeping them attached to this premises. So it's yeah, I really enjoyed that. I gave that an 8.5 this time last year and said it was a really good thing, a good time for Halloween, just in time for Halloween. So yes, Camp Sunshine sounds like it's just as appropriate for this time of year. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though it's a single player game, in fact, that's one of the things I point out in the review, it makes really good use of audio.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and so, in that regard, you want to play it in handheld mode with your headphones on. But it's
Mm.
also a game that, even though it's a single player game, it's a lot of fun to play with others in the room who can help you solve some of the puzzles, come up with some ideas about where you're going, and of course, jump at the jump scares when they come together. So
Mm.
I
Yeah.
do recommend playing it with others. The developer, by the way, is Fossil Games. I just looked up.
Okay. Cool. That's good
Yeah,
job,
so keep
Fossil
it up.
Games.
Keep it up,
Yeah.
Fossil Games.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes, I think they're really good, and I love the throwback to that 80s kind of classic 80s, setting of a movie of a horror movie, the camp. the haunted
Yeah,
mansion, that sort of thing. Yeah, I hope they've got something
it's
else
always a
lined up
camp.
for us. Yeah, yes, exactly. That's excellent. Very good. What else is on our list? Sunshine Camp, we've done. You're also playing something called Clock Tower Rewind. What is that one about?
Yes. And this game, I don't have as much detail on this because I'm not as deep into it, but this is a remake of a game that was originally released in 1995. It again another 16-bit style vibe to it. The new version, the rewind version, has some extra content and some quality of life improvements. Since I never played the original, I don't know exactly what those are. Um, but this is the story here is that we've got these girls who live in an orphanage, I believe. They're all being adopted into this house together, and they all go into this huge mansion, and they're waiting in a room while the woman in charge of them, I guess, goes to talk to the owner of the house. Um, she doesn't come back, so the main character goes to look in her or look in on her, and then from the original room where the other girls are, we hear screams. She goes back, and they're not there. So now we're in a haunted house. Everyone has abandoned us, and it's exploration from that point. I haven't gotten too deep into it yet. A couple things I can point out though are this game, it kind of uses jump scares also, in that, say, you'll walk up to something and suddenly it shatters very quickly and loudly to sort of startle you. The controls are weird because, like, you hit the L and R sticks to move left and right, and then you hit the X button to stop moving. Um, and I think they do that because a lot of the control is okay, I don't know if this is a spoiler. A lot, it happens very early. You're being chased in this house by somebody with giant scissors, um, which creeps me out because one of the scenes in a horror movie, I may have mentioned this before when we were talking about Halloween. There's a scene in the movie called Exorcist 3 that involves giant scissors, and at least I think they were. Anyone who's seen this movie knows what it is because I saw that scene and it really creeped me out. And that was the first time in a long time that I went back to. I was working at at my college at the time between semesters. I went to bed that night and I realized my closet door was open and had to get up and shut it, which for me is being scared.
Right.
So that scene freaked me out, and the moment this thing with the scissors started chasing after that girl, I was like, "Oh crap, here we go again." There's just something about in fact, they even say here the description of Pure Nintendo. I guess he is referred to as Scissor Man, a
Oh,
murderous, unstoppable, shears wielding psychopath.
oh
But
my
these are
gosh.
really big shears.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so the movement is like if you just hit L, the character is going to move, and you don't like need to hold buttons down. You automatically go through doors when you do that. But when Scissor Man's chasing you, you have to hide. Again, no way to fend him off. But hiding is, unlike Sunshine Camp, really difficult in this game. It's like it's very
Mm.
precise on exactly what you have to do in order to get away from this fella. Um, so it takes a little more figuring out. And again, it could be, from 1995, games weren't as long back then, so they made you figure more out to prolong the life of the game, possibly. Um, and the other thing is the controls. It feels like it was actually made for a computer because to look at objects, you have to move the stick and the cursor around to highlight something. It'll indicate you could do something with it, but then you hit Y to get the details. The controls aren't as functional, or I shouldn't say they're functional. They're perfectly functional. They're not as familiar as they normally are for games like this. In fact, to pull up your inventory or the saved game screen, you have to hit ZR, and I have never seen that map to ZR on any game in my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's odd. Interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at the screenshot. The scissors are quite large.
Yeah.
Mm. Is the scissor man the equivalent of the bear then in Camp Sunshine? Like,
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
I think so because you never know where he's going to pop out to. There are some really nice animated cut scenes in this. I believe those are new. Oh, you know what? And go back to Camp Sunshine real quickly. There are some really nicely animated 16-bit cut scenes in that game
Mm.
that work
Oh,
pretty well too and help tell the story.
Hmm.
Here they've given them more of an anime feel.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but this game also uses, even though it's 16-bit, also it goes into a little more detail on some of the screens that are meant to frighten you when they pop up quickly. Um, but it's a haunted house game. You're exploring and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and it's very dark, and you're all alone, and it's just hitting all the steps that you need to hit in order to have a good horror movie.
Yeah. Wow. You've got a lot of horror themed games on the go at the moment. Hopefully you can handle the scariness.
I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I did start playing one of them. In fact, it was Clock Tower. The opening movie started coming on, and I was playing it. It was making something in the game was making weird noises, but it was creeping out my son, and so he had to run off to bed.
Right.
Even
Yeah.
though he thought the game didn't look scary, the audio was freaking him out, and so that was that.
Hmm. Yep. It does. The audio has a huge impact. I know a friend I used to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she would not cover her eyes in scary movies. She would cover her ears.
I think I understand that completely.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. She thought it was she could watch it and as long as she couldn't hear it, it was fine. So yeah. That's a good tip if you if you're suffering through a scary movie or game for that matter.
Um,
Mm.
Hopefully, I'll have more on this game next week as I get deeper into it. I'd like to finish up the game this weekend so I can get the review up in time for Halloween.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, sounds very good. It certainly has the look. It definitely fits the bill of a Halloween movie, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Um, yes, I think the only other thing we wanted to touch on for Halloween recommendations was the Luigi's Mansion, of course, because it's a bit more of a child-friendly approach to scary games. And I know that you recently reviewed Luigi's Mansion 2, and I know you're a huge fan of Luigi and how he kind of like, he's the protagonist, but he's scared. And he kind of
yes.
shakes and shivers and makes those little noises, and I think it helps.
Sings nervously
Yes,
to
sings
himself.
nervously. Exactly.
Yep.
It's kind of adorable, but it also, as a player, I think it helps you. I don't know. Would you say you kind of empathize with him, and maybe it gives you a bit more courage because you're kind of helping him through a scary time? Maybe? I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us that would be our approach. If we had to go into a
Mm.
haunted house and do all of
Mhm.
these things, if you got to do it, you got to do it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you can be terrified the whole time and still get the job done, and that's what Luigi
Yes.
does.
I know. You have to do it, if especially if there's a short, kind of crazy professor forcing you to do so.
Yeah, yeah, you got no choice.
Poor Luigi, yes. But yeah, so we just mentioned 2 and 3 are both on the Switch, and equally good, I'd say. Do you have a preference out of the 2?
I prefer two. I
Yeah,
did.
okay. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like being able to play that co-op, completely co-op with oh wait, no, that was three. Excuse me. Was it three?
Mm.
See, I get confused because the one came out for the DS, and so three to me is 3DS, but that's not what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't the
2
last one that came out, it was the one before that. Which one
yeah,
was that?
okay. That was 3, yeah. So
Okay, yes,
3
then
has,
three is my favorite. Yeah.
yeah, it has Guigi, yeah, which is
Yes.
the co-op element, which is really cool. Yeah, I'd have to say the same. I mean, both are good. I'd love to see, I guess, well, I probably said this at the time. Maybe Luigi's Mansion 1 and 2 could have been packaged together, but that's okay. Uh, it'd be nice to see 1 revamped, but I think we've had 2, probably ready for a new one at some point. Luigi's
Yeah.
Mansion 4, maybe for Switch
Yeah.
2, who knows,
Where do
right?
you think it'll be set? Three was in a
Ah,
hotel.
it was.
Two was in just like a series of houses. I can't even remember one.
Yeah, I think 1 was just a haunted mansion of some sort, just like a
Yeah.
smaller house, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
Being the
think we
first one.
need to put Luigi on a ghost ship in four.
Ooh, yes, that would work. I could see that working really well. You could
Yeah.
also put him onto a holiday camp.
Yeah, let's put him in the woods, going from cabin to cabin. Or like
Yeah.
an abandoned hospital. How creepy could we actually make a Luigi's Mansion
Oh,
game by putting it into the scariest spot
yeah.
you could possibly imagine?
Yes, an abandoned hospital would be very scary.
Yeah, or an abandoned prison. Those could be pretty freaky too.
Yes, yes, very good settings. You know your horror, that's for sure. That's a really good question for listeners. If you have a, where would you like to see Luigi go next instead of a mansion? Could you still call it Luigi's Mansion though if he's in a hospital? I don't know. I
Probably
guess so.
not.
It's
No,
still
we
the
could. Oh,
yeah.
we could on the ship though, because it could be called the USS Mansion.
Ah, yes, of course. Yeah, yeah. Maybe it'd be like I don't know. I'm thinking of some huge. Oh, you know what? In the UK, there are heaps of these haunted old manors, which are like mansions. Where not royalty exactly, but near royalty people used to live.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and they're apparently, wait, I don't know look, whether ghosts are real or not, but apparently they're quite haunted. I have a friend who had visited one a few years ago and quite quite enjoyed it, even though they were terrified. But they're very big. They have lots of rooms, kind of the old four-poster beds, that sort of style. And because it's in the English countryside, you could maybe do something with that. Maybe
Yeah.
Mario and friends are on vacation in the UK, the Highlands of Scotland or something. I don't know. And
You can stay off the moors.
yeah. Then you could have the headless horseman, I suppose. Is that
Yeah.
is that a UK or a
No,
US
that's
thing?
America.
That's
Yeah,
America. Okay.
that's like Connecticut or something, I
Oh,
think.
that doesn't work then, does it? I'm sure
Yeah.
there's some sort of UK based ghost story
Oh,
we
he
can.
could be in a museum. How about that? Has he been in a
Oh
haunted
yeah,
museum yet?
that would totally work. Yes, I
Okay.
could definitely see that. Yeah. The possibilities are endless.
All
Yes, I
right.
can't believe that.
Well,
Sorry.
I would say if Nintendo does either any of these things now, I feel like we get a kickback for our
Totally.
wonderful ideas.
hmm I think the museum is maybe the one. I think that's
Okay.
in terms of being most likely. I reckon
Yeah,
that's a
I
good
say
good option.
museum or ship.
Yeah. Let's submit something to Nintendo and see what happens. Yeah. That more or less brings us to the end of our Halloween special. Unless there's something else you would like to add. Any
Nope. I wished
no?
everyone a happy Halloween, and I don't have any other games I want to slide in, so I think I'm okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining me this week and talking about all things Nintendo slash all things Halloween. We hope you enjoyed the show, listeners. Let us know your favorite, I guess, Halloween tradition or game to play. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And of course, you can follow us on social media. We are on Blue Sky and Mastodon, and we're still hovering over on X as well. So you can join us over there. We're at Pure Nintendo. What else? Oh, yes, our magazine, of course. We are working on our next issue. If you would like to join us, head on over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo and you can get yourself a copy of the next issue when it comes out. And until next week, though, thank you and game on, everybody, in a spooky way. Bye.